She said it straight to my face one evening. No hesitation, no irony, just pure venom. "You're too happy for this building," she hissed, her lips curling like she'd just tasted something sour. "People like you ruin the peace around here." That was the moment I realized something was off. Not just strange neighbor off. I mean the kind of off where someone watches you through their blinds at midnight, searching for proof that you don't deserve your life. Before I tell you how I handled her and turned the entire building against her lies, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next parts of this story. Because trust me, this one spirals fast. Anyway, back to that night. It started after I came home from the gym, earbuds in, protein shake in hand, feeling good. The hallway smelled like detergent and cheap candles. I remember humming under my breath, that relaxed feeling when life is finally going your way. That's when I saw her, Samantha, my downstairs neighbor, standing at her door like she'd been waiting for me. She had that sharp, frozen smile, the kind that hides judgment behind politeness. "Rough day?" I asked, trying to be friendly. Her eyes flicked over me. "Some of us like quiet evenings," she said. "Not constant movement upstairs." I laughed lightly. "Oh, I get it. I've been rearranging some furniture. Maybe you heard." "I hear everything," she cut me off. "Every footstep, every laugh, every song you play." Her tone wasn't angry. It was cold, calculated, like she wanted me to feel guilty for breathing too loudly. That night, I brushed it off. I told myself, it's just one of those neighbors. Every apartment complex has one. I even turned my music down the next day, wore headphones, kept things quiet. I didn't realize I was already playing by her rules. 3 days later, a notice appeared on my door. Noise complaint. Level 1 warning. My first reaction was confusion. I barely watched TV, didn't host parties, didn't even own a subwoofer. But the complaint said late-night disturbance, repeated thumping noises. I checked my security app. I hadn't even been home during the time she listed. That's when my stomach dropped. It wasn't a mistake. She'd filed it. The property manager, a polite but overworked guy named Ted, told me, "We've had multiple complaints from your unit, man. Just try to keep it down, okay?" I remember standing there, trying to process how a lie could look so official. How one person's pettiness could become a piece of paper that said I was the problem. First, I tried to reason with her. I knocked on her door. She didn't open, but I heard the TV click off inside, and silence. The kind of silence that says, "I hear you, and I don't care." From that moment, something in me shifted. I started noticing things. The way her curtains would flutter right as I walked out, like she was peeking. The way she'd linger by the mailboxes just long enough to accidentally bump into me. Once, she muttered, "You think you're better than everyone here." I turned, caught off guard. "Excuse me." She smiled. "Just saying. Not everyone appreciates optimism." Her words stuck to me like gum on a shoe. "Too happy." That's what she said. I replayed it in my head later that night, sitting on my couch with the lights off. Too happy. Since when was happiness a threat? But then I realized, it wasn't happiness she hated. It was control. She needed to dominate the energy around her, and I was the one thing she couldn't shape. My calmness, my quiet success, my good days. They were constant reminders that her life was chaos. That's when the real attacks began. False complaints. Whispers in the building group chat. The kind of subtle social poison that spreads fast. One morning, an elderly neighbor avoided eye contact with me in the hallway. Another didn't return my wave. Samantha had planted a seed. The noisy guy upstairs, the inconsiderate one. And people believed her. It was humiliating. You think you're respected, that people know who you are, until one rumor rewrites your story. Suddenly, every sound you make feels suspicious. Every knock, every step, every dropped spoon echoes like guilt. But here's the thing about people who underestimate quiet types. We listen. We watch. And when we strike back, we don't shout. We build the kind of revenge that doesn't just expose lies, it documents them. That night, I ordered a video doorbell. Not for safety. For proof that I wasn't planning to fight back. Not yet. But something in me said this wasn't over. Because people like Samantha don't stop until they feel they've won. And I had no intention of losing. The second notice came less than a week later. Same piece of paper. Same bold red font across the top. Noise violation warning. But this time, it wasn't just a form, it was a message. Someone wanted me gone. I stared at it for a good minute before knocking on the property manager's door. Ted looked tired, The kind of tired that comes from dealing with petty neighbor wars for years. Another complaint? I asked, trying to sound calm, but he rubbed his eyes. Yeah, same unit below yours. Claims there's heavy stomping and furniture dragging again. Midnight to 2. I clenched my jaw. Ted, I was asleep. Alone. You can check the security system. No one even entered or left my apartment. He sighed. I believe you, man. But we have to log every complaint. 3 strikes, and we're required to escalate it. That word, escalate, hit like a threat. I thanked him, but as I walked away, I noticed Samantha standing down the hall, her arms crossed, smirk barely hidden. She didn't say a word, just watched me. That's when I knew this wasn't going to stop by being nice. That evening, I started keeping a log, timestamps, noise levels, screenshots from my security app. Every minute I wasn't home, I wrote it down. Every quiet night, I documented it. I wanted patterns, proof. Then came the message at 9:42 p.m. My phone buzzed, a notification from the building's group chat. Some people here really need to learn how to live with others, Samantha wrote. Someone replied with a laughing emoji. Another added, let me guess, top floor again? Dozens of messages followed. I scrolled in silence, my face burning. I hadn't done anything wrong, but now I was the building's punchline. I typed a reply, then deleted it. I wasn't giving her the satisfaction. Instead, I took screenshots of every message, every accusation, every joke. The next morning, the atmosphere had shifted. Neighbors who used to nod politely now avoided eye contact. One woman stepped aside in the elevator as if standing next to me was risky. I didn't realize it yet. But Samantha had started a campaign. Slow, strategic, psychological. A few days later, I came home to find a sticky note on my door. Some of us work early. Try to respect that. No signature. But the handwriting was familiar, neat, slanted, feminine. It wasn't about noise anymore. It was about dominance. She wanted me to feel unwelcome in my own home. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, laptop open, scrolling through my log entries. Every complaint matched a time when I was provably quiet or away. Every accusation contradicted the facts. It wasn't random. It was targeted. So I decided to test something. At 11 p.m. When she usually filed her complaints, I left my apartment. I took my phone, my camera app running, and walked quietly downstairs to the parking lot. From there, I could see her balcony. At exactly 11:17 p.m. I heard it, loud tapping from above. My ceiling. The sound of someone slamming a broom handle against the floor. My floor, from her apartment below. Then her voice, faint, but clear through the quiet night air. Keep it down up there. Except, I wasn't up there. I hit record. For a minute straight, I filmed her ceiling lights flickering from the impact. The muffled banging echoing through the still air. Proof. Cold. Undeniable proof that I didn't confront her. Not yet. I knew she wanted a reaction, a scene, something to twist against me. Instead, I walked back upstairs, calm as ice, and uploaded the clip to my drive. But the real blow came the next morning. Ted called. Hey man, there was another complaint last night, from Samantha again. I couldn't help but smile. Of course there was. She said it was me. Yeah. She claimed she heard banging and shouting. Perfect, I said. Check the building entry log. I wasn't even home. And, Ted, yeah, I think it's time I show you something. When I handed him my phone and pressed play, Ted's eyebrows shot up. That's her. Yep, I said, complaining about noise that doesn't exist when I'm not even home. He leaned back, exhaling slowly. All right, keep this saved. I'll need it for the record. His tone was cautious, the kind people use when they've seen drama like this explode before it. That's when I realized something important. The system wouldn't protect me unless I made it impossible to ignore the truth. So I bought a decibel meter, installed 2 cameras, and synced them all to an automatic log system. Every minute of my apartment's silence was now recorded, timestamped, archived. Samantha didn't know it yet, but every false move she made was feeding my case, building a perfect timeline of her obsession, and I wasn't planning to stop documenting, not until everyone saw exactly who the real problem in that building was. It happened at 3:07 a.m. pounding. At my door ripped through the silence. Deep, heavy knocks that made my chest tighten. I stumbled out of bed, half asleep, heart hammering. Through the peephole, I saw two security guards from the complex standing there, flashlights in hand. "Sir, we've had multiple reports of a loud party coming from this unit," one said when I opened the door. His expression was polite but suspicious. I blinked. "Party? Look around. It's me and my couch." They stepped inside, checking corners, listening for noise that didn't exist. My apartment was spotless, quiet. You could hear the refrigerator hum. One of them looked awkward. Neighbor downstairs called twice. Said there was shouting and heavy music. I gestured toward my speakers, unplugged. "You're welcome to check the playback," I said, pulling up the footage from my video doorbell. No visitors. No sound. No party. The guard leaned over my phone, squinting. His partner sighed. "We've got to log it, but clearly there's nothing here." When they left, one whispered, "Man, sorry. Happens more than you'd think." But the damage was done. I stood in the hallway, watching their flashlights disappear down the stairs, feeling a cold fury crawl up my spine. Down below, through the crack under her door, I could see light. She was awake, watching, waiting. That was when something inside me hardened. This wasn't just harassment anymore. It was psychological warfare. The next morning, Ted called again. "She filed an incident report," he said carefully. "Claims you were playing loud music and yelling profanity at her window." I let out a low laugh. "Ted, I was literally asleep. You have security footage." He hesitated. "Yeah, but policy means we have to review everything before we can act." I could hear the exhaustion in his voice. He was caught in the middle, but I wasn't going to let her bury me in paperwork and lies. That night, I made a choice. I was done defending myself. From now on, I'd expose her to so I prepared my trap. First, I scheduled an automatic post on our building's community forum, a calm, friendly announcement. "Hey neighbors, I've been getting reports of noise complaints that don't seem to match my actual schedule. I'm setting up a voluntary noise log so we can all keep track of quiet hours. Transparency helps everyone." It looked harmless, community-oriented. But behind it, I'd already linked my log system and video evidence to a private cloud folder. Every clip, every timestamp, every security entry point. 2 nights later, she made her move again. This time, she called security at 12:40 a.m., claiming I was throwing furniture. I was ready, while she was on the phone with the guards. My hallway camera caught everything. Her pacing around her apartment, banging the ceiling with a broom, muttering to herself. The microphone even picked up her saying, "That'll teach him to laugh." When I reviewed the footage, I felt something shift. For weeks, she'd been gaslighting me, twisting reality until I doubted myself. But here, on video, was the truth. She was staging every single incident. Still, I didn't go public right away. I wanted one final piece. Undeniable proof that would end it for good. So, I called Ted. "Would you mind stopping by my place tonight? I want you to see something firsthand." He agreed, though I could hear the weariness in his tone. That night, we sat quietly in my dark living room, lights off, both of us staring at the ceiling. It didn't take long. At 11:56 p.m., the first bang came, sharp, deliberate. Then another. Then her voice again. "Stop stomping. Some of us need to sleep." Ted looked at me, eyes wide. "You're not even moving." I whispered, "She does this almost every night." He pulled out his phone, recording the sound from where he Saturday. When it finally went quiet, he exhaled. "I'll be honest. This is not normal." By the next morning, he'd filed an internal report to management with my footage attached. But I wasn't finished. Because even though I now had proof, Samantha was still spreading her poison through whispers and chats that I needed to show everyone, not just the staff, exactly who she was. That's when I planned the courtesy meeting. Every month, the complex held a community check-in where tenants could raise complaints. I requested to add an agenda item: clarification on noise reports. Samantha confirmed her attendance immediately, probably expecting a public scolding for me. Perfect. I didn't tell anyone what I was about to show. I spent that weekend editing a short compilation, 30 seconds long. No commentary, just timestamps, security footage, and her voice yelling accusations into an empty ceiling. I titled it, "Silence Sounds Like This." And I was ready. It happened at 3:07 a.m. A pounding at my door ripped through the silence. Deep, heavy knocks that made my chest tighten. I stumbled out of bed, half asleep, heart hammering. Through the peephole, I saw two security guards from the complex standing there, flashlights in hand. "Sir, we've had multiple reports of a loud party coming from this unit," one said when I opened the door. His expression was polite but suspicious that I blinked. "Party? Look around. It's me and my couch." They stepped inside, checking corners, listening for noise that didn't exist. My apartment was spotless, quiet. You could hear the refrigerator hum. One of them looked awkward. Neighbor downstairs called twice. Said there was shouting and heavy music. I gestured toward my speakers, unplugged. "You're welcome to check the playback," I said, pulling up the footage from my video doorbell. No visitors. No sound. No party. The guard leaned over my phone, squinting. His partner sighed. "We've got to log it, but clearly there's nothing here." When they left, one whispered, "Man, sorry. Happens more than you'd think." But the damage was done. I stood in the hallway, watching their flashlights disappear down the stairs, feeling a cold fury crawl up my spine. Down below, through the crack under her door, I could see light. She was awake, watching, waiting. That was when something inside me hardened. This wasn't just harassment anymore. It was psychological warfare. The next morning, Ted called again. "She filed an incident report," he said carefully. "Claims you were playing loud music and yelling profanity at her window." I let out a low laugh. "Ted, I was literally asleep. You have security footage." He hesitated. "Yeah, but policy means we have to review everything before we can act." I could hear the exhaustion in his voice. He was caught in the middle, but I wasn't going to let her bury me in paperwork at the same time, phone in hand. Recording her ceiling lights flickering as she slammed her broom against the floor, murmurs filled the room. Someone gasped quietly. I let the clip play to the end. No commentary, no accusations, just facts. Then, the next clip began. Samantha pacing her living room, phone to her ear. "Yes, he's doing it again," she whispered. Loud music, thumping. "Yes, right now." Except in the background, the footage from my living room camera showed silence. Nothing but the quiet hum of the fridge and the ticking clock. By the time the video ended, you could have heard a pin drop. Ted cleared his throat. "These timestamps were verified." "Yes," I said. "By my video doorbell, my decibel monitor, and the building's entry logs. All synced. All backed up." Someone whispered, "Holy," before cutting themselves off. I looked right at Samantha. "I don't know why you've been doing this. Maybe it's boredom. Maybe resentment. But I'm done letting you twist reality." For the first time since I'd met her, Samantha didn't speak. Her face stayed perfectly still, but her knuckles went white around her phone. She opened her mouth once, then shut it again. Ted finally spoke, his voice steady. "Given this evidence, I'll be recommending that all complaints from Ms. Parker," that's Samantha Parker, right? Someone asked. Ted nodded. "That all complaints from Ms. Parker be dismissed and reviewed under misuse of community policy." Whispers turned into open conversation. People who once avoided me started turning toward her. "Wait, so she made it all up?" One asked aloud. Another muttered, "That's messed up." Samantha shot up from her chair. "You think this proves anything?" Her voice cracked, no longer controlled, no longer calm. "You're all blind. He's noisy. He's fake. He." Ted cut in gently but firmly. "Ma'am, please sit down." Her hands trembled. For a moment, I thought she might lash out, but instead she grabbed her purse and stormed out. The door swinging shut behind her. The silence that followed was thick, uncomfortable, but satisfying. Someone clapped once, almost unsure. Then another joined. And suddenly, the room was filled with the sound of polite applause. Ted turned to me, still holding his notes. "We'll follow up officially tomorrow," he said quietly. But, well done. When I got back to my apartment that night, everything felt different. The hallway was quiet, but not tense anymore. The same neighbors who once looked through me now nodded as I passed, and I sat on my couch, replaying the clips one last time, not out of pride, but relief. For the first time in months, I wasn't defending myself, but deep down, I knew Samantha wasn't finished. People like her rarely just walk away. And the next morning proved me right, because when I stepped outside to grab my mail, there was another note on my door. This time, it wasn't an insult or complaint. Just 5 words, written in her sharp handwriting. "You think this is over?" The note on my door was short, written in those same sharp, deliberate letters. "You think this is over?" For a long moment, I just stood there staring at it. The handwriting was calm, steady, too calm. It wasn't rage. It was promised that I peeled it off carefully, folded it, and placed it inside my drawer with the rest of the evidence. I didn't want to give her what she wanted, a reaction. But inside, my stomach twisted. This wasn't over. Not even close. That night, I noticed it first in the hallway cameras. The subtle things. The shadow that paused a second too long outside my door. The faint reflection of her phone camera lens in the corner of the frame. She was watching, but she didn't stop there. The next morning, my building manager, Ted, texted me. "Hey man, did you file a maintenance request for water damage? We got one from your unit." I hadn't. When I came home, I found it, a small puddle near my bathroom door, perfectly staged, like someone had poured water there. It didn't even reach the rug. And yet, the maintenance crew had been told I had a leak spreading through the ceiling, from my apartment to hers. A false report. Again, I checked my footage, and there she was, clear as day, walking past my door around noon with a small bottle in her hand, glancing over her shoulder before pouring something near the edge of the hallway carpet. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. It was beyond petty. It was obsession. The next few days were quiet, unnervingly quiet. No complaints, no notes, no messages. Just silence. But I'd learned enough to know silence wasn't peace. It was set up, and I was right. On Friday evening, when I came home from work, I found an envelope under my doormat. Inside was a single printed screenshot, an image from an anonymous account on the building's chat app. It showed my name next to a message that said, "Maybe I'll start playing loud music again just to annoy her." The timestamp matched the night before the meeting, but it wasn't mine. It was fake. She'd created a clone profile with my name and photo. And worse, she was using it to message people privately, pretending to be me. I felt my jaw tighten. She wasn't attacking me through noise anymore. She was trying to destroy my reputation all over again. I went straight to Ted. We sat in his office while I showed him the screenshot and the account. He looked exhausted but serious. "All right," he said. "This crosses a line. Identity misrepresentation? That's not a complaint anymore. That's harassment." He leaned back, tapping his pen. "We'll handle it officially, but if she's that bold, she might try something else. Keep your cameras running." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every small creak from the pipes, every gust of wind through the vents, it all sounded like her moving around below me, plotting her next move. Around midnight, my doorbell rang. The sound was soft, one ring, quick and deliberate. I froze. The camera feed on my phone lit up automatically. It was her, standing there in her robe, arms crossed, eyes cold. She didn't say anything at first. She just looked into the camera for a few seconds, as if making sure I was watching. Then she smiled, that same, sharp, unnatural smile, and turned away. Walking down the hall. It was quiet again, but the tension in my chest didn't fade. By morning, I knew I couldn't wait for the management company anymore. I needed something stronger, something final. So I called a lawyer. I explained everything. The fake reports, the fake messages, the late-night visits, the proof. He didn't sound surprised. "She's trying to control the narrative," he said. "Classic harassment behavior. Don't engage. Don't respond. Document everything." He paused. "And if she keeps this up, we'll file for a restraining order." The words sounded heavy but right. That evening, I installed another camera, this time pointed toward the shared hallway vent that connected our apartments. I'd started to hear faint noises through it, whispering, movement, maybe even laughter. I wasn't sure if it was real or my nerves, but I needed to know. And just after 1 a.m., the camera caught it. A faint metallic sound, like someone tapping the vent cover from the other side, followed by a low voice saying, "You think they'll believe you forever?" She was talking through the vent. I didn't move, didn't respond. Just watched the recording in real time, my pulse steady but my resolve absolute. This wasn't a game anymore. This was control through fear. And that's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to hide. I was going to flip this story so hard that everyone, including her, would see exactly who had been lying all along. If she wanted a war of perception, I'd give her one. But this time, she'd be the only one exposed. By Saturday morning, I'd had enough. Not angry. Not yet. Just done. Tired of being cornered by someone who thrived on control, who wanted to twist my every action into proof of guilt. It wasn't about the noise anymore. It hadn't been for weeks. It was about power. And the moment I stopped reacting, she started losing hers. So I made my move. I started with something simple. public transparency. I posted a calm, professional message in the building's online forum. Hey everyone. I know the noise issue has been frustrating, and I appreciate your patience to help the management and all residents. I've set up a shared link where anyone can view verified timestamps, security footage, and noise data from my apartment that lets clear the air, literally. No blame, no accusations, just facts. Within an hour, the thread exploded with responses. Dozens of neighbors clicked the link, expecting excuses. Instead, they found an organized timeline. Every complaint cross-referenced with video proof of silence, empty rooms, or timestamps showing I wasn't even home. The comments started shifting. Wait, this is actually impressive. Man's documenting his quiet. Then who's been reporting him? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The dots connected themselves. Then, as if on cue, Samantha commented, "Nice editing. Too bad fake footage doesn't erase reality." That's when another neighbor, a retired teacher from downstairs, replied, "Funny, because I live right below you both. I've never heard him make noise, but I've definitely heard someone banging on their ceiling at night." And just like that, the tide turned. For the first time in months, I wasn't defending myself. The building was defending me. Still, I wasn't satisfied. She'd spent weeks trying to destroy my peace, my credibility. I wanted her lies exposed, not just dismissed as, "Oh, I planned one final step," something subtle, legal, and bulletproof. I asked Ted, the property manager, if he could schedule an official community check-in for safety updates. He agreed, not realizing I had something specific in mind. When the meeting was announced, I sent a short message to the group. "I'll be presenting something important regarding resident conduct. Everyone should hear this." I knew Samantha couldn't resist showing up. She needed to see the attention, to feel like she still had control of the narrative. That Thursday, the lounge was packed again. I came in with a calm face, laptop under my arm. No anger, just quiet confidence. When Ted gave me the floor, I didn't start with accusations. Instead, I began with a question. How do we feel when someone lies about us? The room was still. Eyes turned toward me. Samantha sat near the front again, her smile tight, forced. "See," I continued, "most of us think lies are just words. But they're heavier than that. They spread. They change how people look at you. They isolate you. But what happens when you prove the truth and the liar keeps going?" I paused, then played the recording. It was short, only 15 seconds. But it didn't need to be long. The video showed Samantha outside my door at midnight, the note in her hand, whispering to herself before sliding it under the mat. Her words were faint but clear. "They'll believe me over you. They always do." Gasps. Actual, audible gasps filled the room. She froze. Her face went white, her mouth opening, then closing again. That's not." She stammered. Ted looked stunned. "Is this recent?" "3 nights ago," I said evenly. "The footage is verified by the building's camera system too." She tried to stand, but her legs shook. You can't record people like that." Ted cut her off gently. "It's our shared hallway. That footage belongs to the complex." Her eyes darted around the room, searching for allies. No one looked back. I didn't need to say another word. The silence did it for me. After the meeting, Ted pulled me aside. "I think we've seen enough," he said quietly. "This will go to upper management. She won't be staying much longer." And for the first time in months, I exhaled fully. When I got home, the air in my apartment felt lighter. I sat by the window, watching the sunset reflect off the glass buildings across the street. Down below, I saw her, packing her car. Boxes, bags, her cat carrier. No dramatic scene, no confrontation. Just quiet defeat. Part of me felt relief. Another part felt pity. She'd spent so much energy trying to ruin me. She'd destroyed her own reputation instead. That night, for the first time in a long time, I slept without headphones, without anxiety, without watching my cameras. The war was over. Or so I thought, because early the next morning, I woke up to a single notification on my phone, an email, no sender listed, just a subject line that said, "You really think I moved out?" The email hit me like a punch to the gut. You really think I moved out? No address, no name, but I didn't need one. I knew that tone, that precision, that eerie calm that only came from her. For a second, I sat frozen, staring at the screen. It had been 4 days since the meeting, 4 days of peace. She was supposed to be gone. Management had confirmed her lease termination. She'd packed, left, disappeared. Or so I thought. But the message came from nowhere. And the timestamp? 3:12 a.m., that same cursed hour when everything with her always started at first. I told myself it was a prank. Maybe someone from the building chat messing around. But then I noticed something small, something she'd know only if she were watching. The email ended with a single line. You left your light on again. My living room lamp. I'd forgotten to turn it off before bed. The curtains were half closed. No one could have seen it from the street. Unless. I walked slowly to the window and looked outside. Nothing. Just the empty courtyard, a few parked cars, the flicker of a street lamp. But that didn't calm me. The quiet now felt wrong, like the silence that follows a scream. The next morning, I asked Ted if he could double-check her move-out file. He frowned at his computer. Yeah, her unit's listed as vacant. She returned her keys. Everything looks normal. Could she still have access? He shrugged. Technically, no. But if someone made copies, he didn't finish the sentence. That night, I installed new locks. Changed my Wi-Fi password. Updated every security setting. Still, the feeling didn't fade. Then came the second message. This time, it wasn't an email. It was a voicemail from a block number. At first, there was silence. Then faint breathing, followed by a low whisper. They think I'm gone. Isn't that funny? No name. Just her voice. Calm. Controlled. Terrifyingly certain. I played it again and again, analyzing the background noise. I could hear the faint hum of a fridge, the same pitch as the ones in our building's units. She was still here. Somewhere. I went to Ted the next morning, replayed the recording. He looked pale. Man, he said quietly, I don't know how she's doing this. But I'll check every access log. He did. Every entry, every maintenance record, every delivery. Nothing. Her name didn't appear anywhere. But 2 nights later, I caught it myself at 2:46 a.m., my camera alert buzzed. A figure moving through the hallway. A woman in a hoodie, head down, carrying a phone that glowed faintly blue. She walked right past my door, stopped, and then whispered something under her breath before disappearing toward the stairs. The audio was faint. But when I enhanced it, I heard her say my name. That's when I realized. She hadn't just returned to the building. She'd found a way in. I called the police that night. Calmly, firmly, explaining everything. I showed them the footage, the messages, the logs. They took it seriously, promised to patrol the area and contact management. When they left, I sat in my living room, lights on, phone in my hand. The air felt thick. The kind of stillness that comes before something breaks. Around 4 a.m., I heard it, the soft click of a door closing somewhere down the hall. Not loud, not aggressive, just deliberate. I didn't move. I just watched the live feed on my camera. Nothing. But I could feel it. That same presence I'd felt for months. By sunrise, I made a decision. This wasn't about waiting for her next move anymore. This was about ending it on my terms. I started reaching out to the same neighbors who once believed her. The teacher from downstairs. The couple across the hall. I told them the truth, calmly, clearly. And one by one, they agreed to help. We created a watch group. Silent, careful, all connected through a private thread. Each one had cameras, phones, eyes on every corner of the building. If she was still here, she'd have nowhere to hide. The next night. The trap was set, and when she finally showed up again, walking through the parking lot with her hood up, she didn't know that half the building was watching her in real time. The plan was simple, but it had to be flawless. We didn't want confrontation. We wanted proof. Real, undeniable, can't be spun proof. I coordinated quietly. 6 neighbors, all people she'd lied to before, agreed to help. Each had a small camera facing either the hallway, the parking lot, or the stairwell. Everything fed to a shared cloud folder that updated in real time. It wasn't revenge anymore. It was exposure. By 10 p.m., the group chat buzzed. Lori, downstairs, she's not here yet. Marcus, across the hall, lights flickered in the side stairwell. Me, stay calm. Cameras rolling. I sat in my living room, pretending to scroll through my phone. Though my pulse was steady and slow, that kind of focus you only feel when fear burns itself out and turns into purpose. 11:32. My phone vibrated again. Marcus, got her. Put up, coming through side entrance. I tapped into the live feed. There she was, Samantha. creeping through the dim stairwell with her hood pulled tight, clutching a phone in one hand and a ring of keys in the other. Keys, but she'd made copies after all. The sight hit me with a wave of cold anger. She still thought she could walk back in here like she owned the place, like none of us mattered. The teacher downstairs, Mrs. Clay, whispered through the chat. She's on the 3rd floor now, recording her voice. She's talking to herself. We had every angle covered, every step documented. The hallway lights flickered as she moved, shadows stretching like they were avoiding her at 11:40. She stopped right outside my door. The camera caught her face as she lowered her hood. Pale, tense, eyes glassy from lack of sleep. She looked exhausted, but determined. Then she leaned close to my door and whispered something. Too soft to hear through the mic. I froze, watching. She wasn't yelling this time. She wasn't even angry. She looked unhinged, like she was trying to convince herself she was still in control. Then she took out a phone, opened the building's group chat app, and started typing. Her plan was obvious. Another fake post, another accusation. But what she didn't know was that Ted himself was logged in, monitoring the chat from the office. The moment her message appeared, he's at it again, stomping and yelling. Ted typed back instantly. Interesting, since the building's quiet and we're all watching the live feed right now. Seconds later, the notification tone echoed from her phone in the footage. She froze, eyes darting in panic. Then, the elevator dinged. Two security officers stepped out. Calm, silent, steady. They didn't shout, didn't threaten, just walked toward her, flashlights low, voices measured. Ma'am, you don't live here anymore, one said. You need to leave immediately. She stammered something. I just dropped something. But they'd already seen the copied keys in her hand that I watched, silent, as they escorted her downstairs. She didn't fight, didn't scream, just kept repeating, he made me do it. He made me do it. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. Just pity. Ted called me a few minutes later. It's done, he said quietly. Police are filing a report. She won't be coming back. I leaned back on the couch, staring at the feed one last time. The now empty hallway, peaceful again. The walls looked the same, but the energy was different. Clean, quiet. The neighbors started messaging one by one. Man, that was unreal. You handled that better than anyone could. Finally, peace. I didn't answer. Not right away. I just watched the footage rewind, her shadow fading frame by frame, until the moment she disappeared from view. That was the end of her. Or at least, I thought it was, because the next day, while reviewing the footage for the report, I noticed something strange, something no one else had seen, when she leaned toward my door to whisper before typing that last message. She hadn't been talking to herself. She'd been looking straight into my doorbell camera, and right before she walked away, she smiled and mouthed 2 silent words. See you. For a few days after she was escorted out, life felt normal again. Almost too normal that I slept with my windows open. The hallway stayed quiet, and the neighbors greeted me with actual smiles instead of side glances, but I couldn't get those 2 words out of my head. See you. Every time I replayed that moment on my camera, I saw the same thing, that faint, knowing smirk. It wasn't a threat exactly. It was a message. I'm still in your head. And she was right that I tried to move on. I worked, hit the gym, even started chatting with my downstairs neighbors more often. But one evening, while checking my emails, something odd appeared in my inbox again. An invitation. Subject line, tenant review request. Sender, building feedback portal.it looked official. Same logo, same formatting. But something felt off. The reply address ended with .co, not .com. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. Inside was a short survey. How satisfied are you with your current living environment? Normal questions, until the last one. Do you believe the problem neighbor got what they deserved? And beneath it, an image. Grainy, zoomed in, but familiar. My apartment door. Last night, my stomach dropped. It wasn't from any of my cameras. The angle was too low. Someone had taken it manually, from just a few feet away. I immediately checked my hallway footage. Nothing. No movement. No visitors. No one even passed my door during that time, which meant only one thing. She'd found a new way in, digital. That night, I stayed up tracing the source of the email. The domain was freshly created, hidden behind a proxy, but there was a name embedded in the metadata of the attached image. S. Parker. She hadn't broken in physically. She was hacking her way back in, online. I didn't panic. Instead, I contacted the lawyer again. She's trying to contact me through fake accounts, I said. He paused. Can you prove it's her? Not yet, I said, but I will. So, I baited her. I created a brand new email, anonymous, pretending to be a tenant who hated me. I replied to the fake survey, writing, "Yeah, I think he got off easy. Wish I'd done something about him myself." Less than a day later, I got a response, "Same account. You might get your chance." Some people don't learn until they lose everything. That was all I needed. The lawyer forwarded everything to the police cyber unit. Within a week, they traced the IP. She wasn't far. She'd moved into a rental just 2 blocks away. Same street, same line of sight to the building that she'd been watching. Waiting, when officers went to check, they found her sitting in front of her laptop. Multiple fake accounts open, pretending to be neighbors, creating new complaints, drafting fake reviews. That IT wasn't dramatic. No screaming, no struggle, just quiet resignation. When I heard about it, I didn't feel triumph, just an enormous wave of relief. The next day, Ted stopped by my apartment. "It's finally over," he said. "We've got a restraining order in place. She can't contact or approach you again." He hesitated before adding, "You handled this better than most people could. You kept your calm and your evidence." That night, I poured myself a drink, sat by the window, and watched the city lights flicker against the dark sky. For the first time in months, the silence felt safe. But here's the thing about fear: it leaves echoes some nights. When the wind shifts just right, I swear I can still hear faint tapping from the floor below. Probably the pipes. Probably nothing. Still, before I go to sleep, I always check the hallway camera one last time. Not because I'm scared she'll come back, but because I've learned something. People like Samantha don't always want to ruin your life. Sometimes, they just can't stand seeing someone live it better than they can. And when you stop giving them power, they fade, like shadows when the light finally hits. That it's been 6 months since the last time I heard her name, and late night knocks. No fake emails. No shadows outside my door. Just silence. The kind that feels like fresh air after a long storm. At first, it felt strange. I'd gotten used to tension, waiting for the next hit, the next accusation, the next trap. But as the days turned into weeks, I started remembering what peace actually sounded like. Now, my mornings begin with coffee on the balcony instead of checking security logs. The walls that once felt like a cage now just hold a home. Even the neighbors are different. We talk, laugh, help each other with groceries. Somehow, all that chaos brought the building closer together. Funny, right? One person tried to divide us with lies, and instead, she became the reason we finally started trusting each other. I started journaling again too. I'd stopped when things got bad because writing made it real. Now it's what keeps me grounded. Every page reminds me that sometimes the best revenge isn't payback. It's rebuilding your life so well that the person who tried to break you can't recognize you anymore. A few months ago, I even got promoted at work. My manager said I seemed more composed, more in control. If only he knew what that really meant. I moved some things around in my apartment too. Not because I had to, but because I wanted a fresh start. New couch, new rug, new energy. Sometimes, I still check the cameras. Not out of fear, out of habit. But every time I scroll through the footage and see nothing but stillness, I smile. Because I earned that silence. And yet, there's a part of me that still thinks about her. Not in anger, not even in fear. Just in curiosity. What makes someone so bitter that they can't stand another person's happiness? Maybe I'll never know. Maybe that's the point. What I do know is that she doesn't own any part of my life anymore. Not my mind. Not my peace. Not a single breath. I learned that boundaries aren't walls. They're doors you decide who gets to walk through. And once you lock them behind the wrong person, you never unlock them again. Sometimes, at night, when the city quiets down, I stand by the window and look at the building across the street. The one where she used to live after she moved out. The lights are off now. Curtains drawn. It's emptied. That's how I know it's really over. It's strange, though, how peace doesn't roar when it returns. It just hums quietly in the background, steady and calm, reminding you that you made it out. So yeah, I'm finally happy again. And this time, no one can touch that. But tell me something, did I do the right thing? Would you have handled it the same way? Or would you have gone further? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Hit that like button and share what you would have done in my place. Because sometimes the quietest revenge is simply living better than they ever expected. The end.